Again, then another week, another Premier League roundup show. Welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. 41 goals were the amount amassed by the 20 Premier League clubs this weekend. In a weekend, as I said, filled of goals, VAR drama, and West Ham remaining in the Champions League spots. I hope you are all well watching. A couple of guests, of course, joining me. Sean is still in the Dominican Republic somewhere, topping up his tan. So the wonderful Mike has stepped in once again this week. Mike, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Yes. I've watched a lot of football over this weekend, but no Premier League football this weekend.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Josh. Josh as well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay with this point. Obviously, the result today, but I'm all good.
He's okay. He is okay. Josh came on just a couple of minutes ago with a beaming smile on his face. I thought, flipping out, I got it right when I typed it out. But yeah, we will get onto the video a little bit later on. But, well, Friday night football, we just as well start there, Mike. Luton 1, West Ham United 2. The floor is yours, my man. Oh.
Hello, mate. I lost you then. I lost you.
Oh. I was you, Mike. Luton 1, West Ham 2.
I'm right. I got you now. Yeah, a banana skin. Definitely. I thought, we're put on there for Sky, I mean, just like last year, Forest's first game back in the Premier League, and then we get Luton's first home game back in the Premier League. So, yeah, I think everyone wanted us to slip up. And we didn't, although it was a little bit close come the end of the last 5 minutes. Typical West Ham. Yeah, we had to let them score and defend like that. Controlled the game, unusual for us. We had all the ball, and I thought we dealt with it quite well. Yeah. And there was a lot of big pluses for me. I mean, the centre of midfield, yeah, we've lost a great player. We know that, but I think we've really spent well with those three. Ward-Prowse, I mean, Alvarez and Paqueta just seem to knit together lovely. And they've all got bits about their game, which is different. But, I mean, for me, they were all good. Ward-Prowse, not quite as good as he's been in the last two games, but still did a great job. Bowen, his confidence in front of goal, and that, I was a little bit lucky. The keeper maybe should have saved it. But, he's there in the right place. It's a great ball in, and he gets his head on it. He couldn't do much more. Getting stick from the crowd, which I thought was a little bit naughty, some of it at times. Luton fans, I suppose, they're new, and with the Zuma thing and all that, all the other fans have been through all that. We've had all that, haven't we? So it was nice for both of them to score.
It was very good. It was very good.
Yeah,
I think you're right with the midfield front. We seem to be revisiting that every week, which I think is a positive because of how solid it looks in there and how more effective I think all the players in there are doing. Josh, I don't know if you saw any of this, but from your side of things, was this a shock to you? Were you expecting Luton to pull it out of the bag?
No, I did watch this, but yeah, I did think to be a bit more intent, Luton. I thought the crowd would be a bit more up for it. I don't think the crowd were as good as I expected, to be honest, for the first game in the Premier League for over 30 years or whatever it is. I thought they'd be much more up for it. There was a good section of them which were quite loud, but apart from that, from the telly, it didn't really hear like they were too loud. As for the team, I thought they'd have a bit more of an intense play style as well. But no, the centre forwards were just shocking. There's no composure. They had a few chances and just about three of them just blazed over the bar. I had too worried for them, but I'm glad they got their goal on the first game back in the league. But yeah, it weren't great for them. But as for West Ham, another good win. I think it's Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham and Liverpool all on the same points now behind Man City. So yeah, another great start. I think Zuma got the goal. Obviously, I can't even remember who got the other one now. But yeah, I think City next for you. That'll be a bit more of a tough test to Luton. But yeah, another good win for West Ham.
Yeah, and it's just keeping the ball rolling in our sense and keep picking up points. And we've gone into the international break on a positive, which in previous seasons it feels like we failed to do so. So yeah, happy with that. That is for sure. Let's take some good comments, see who we've got in before we move on. Docs, thank you very much for joining us. Lawrence, over there in America, hope you're keeping well. Sharky, hope you're well, mate. Hope all is well with you. And Peter as well, thanks for joining us. Sean has managed to get on, of course he has. Bit of a throwback game, both in the stadium and the style of both sides. Thought Luton were a tad unlucky not to get up point. Of course, you've moved, Lawrence, haven't you? I hope it all went well. Does anyone know how many of our squad are off on international duty? I think it's about 6 are going. Of course, Ward-Prowse and Bowen aren't going. I'm quite pleased by that, to be honest. But yeah, there are about 6. I think I counted. Josh's granddad is in. Well, Everton have got themselves up and running, so we'll get onto that a little bit later on. Crowd was poor from both sides. Seemed pretty quiet. Well, your dodgy stream in the Dominican Republic wasn't very good. The one chant that I liked was the "You're only here for a season" from the West Ham fans. Made me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, an interesting experience for the very few fans that managed to get a ticket, and yeah, they saw us. They saw us get on the board. Speaking of Everton, however, they are up next. Josh, Sheffield United 2, Everton 2 on a Saturday at lunchtime kickoff.
Yeah, well, both teams are off the mark. I suppose that's one positive each team can take from it. But no, it was a dreadful game of football, really. I think it was a championship game, to be honest. As harsh as that sounds, I do worry for both of them teams. Obviously, Everton got the early goal. The core, very scrappy. I thought to myself, that's the only way they're going to score. Then Cameron Archer, we let go for £20 million. It's a good fee. But bloody hell, what a finish. Just right into the top corner, so composed. And after watching John Duran for us today, I sort of wish we never sold him, but I think there is a buyback clause now, which is good. But no, brilliant finish from him. Sheffield United got them back on level terms, and from then I thought Sheffield United had more of the ball. Everton kept giving it away, a bit like when they did against Doncaster in the week. Dan Juma, who's meant to be new signer, meant to be quite good. I thought he was poor until he scored, to be honest. Couldn't beat a man. Decision making was poor. There's a few times where Everton had a 3-on-3. There's a couple of times, and he tried to be greedy and shoot instead of passing it. And obviously Sheffield United's second goal, just so unfortunate for Everton. Again, Cameron Archer with a ridiculous effort from about 25 yards out. Off the post, it's Pickford's back and goes in right in half time. So killer for Everton that one. But then they got the goal again back in the second half. Dan Juma at the back post, a good ball from Nathan Patterson. And after that, Everton looked like they were in the driving seat until the very end, where Sheffield United had that chance from the corner, and with an unbelievable save by Jordan Pickford twice. I think the first one he tipped onto the post, and the second one he also managed to claw out as well. I do really worry for both teams. I thought Sheffield United were just about the better team, to be honest. But I definitely worry for both of them. I think behind Luton, they could be the two that go. As for individuals, I thought Amadou Onana, I thought he was really poor for Everton. For his size, he should be doing a lot more. I thought Harmer, I think his name is, Sheffield United. He was a very good player. He looks bright. He could be a difficult one to keep hold of next 12 months. But that was a really poor game of football, to be honest. But I think in the end, both teams will be glad that they're off the mark.
Yeah, and I think all of the teams apart from West Ham in the first 2 games we've discussed are probably most people's most likely bet to drop this season. And yeah, listen, I think there's an element of a positive for both sides that they have got up and running before the before the international break. Because the worst thing to be doing is going in with 0 points into the international break. So both ones have got a point. So unlucky from Jordan Pickford. That own goal is absolutely nothing you can do about that. And from the 2 games you've seen from that Beto striker, he looks quite promising as well. So maybe a hint of optimism for Everton there as well. But yeah, it is what it is. Josh's granddad said, "Oh, Josh, it was a great game for those who didn't support either team." Well, there we go. There we go. Right, we'll move on to a game that highly amused me, and I'm sure it amused you, Mike. It's at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 0, Nottingham Forest 1. Get in there.
Yeah, I had a little chuckle at this one. I mean, from what I've seen of this, I mean, Chelsea controlled the game again. They spent all that money, but they just haven't spent it in the right place. I mean, that Mudryk, oh God, I bet Arsenal, they were in for him, and I bet they're glad they didn't get him because he has been terrible. Sterling's been playing really well, and I think that not getting picked for England might have had his head in the wrong place for this game, because he was a bit upset about it, but he should be going out there and proving why he should be picked, and go out and scoring a couple of goals again. But no, I just think that Chelsea, yeah, they spent all that money, but what they needed is someone who can just finish, someone that just pops up in the box and puts away some of those chances that they're trying to create. I mean, Forest, they're battling away, and they're probably losing, some of their good players this year. But I mean, they I don't think they'll go down. I think they're good enough to sort of stay at least 6 or 7 from the bottom.
Yeah, they made a few signings on deadline day. So I know they let go Brennan Johnson, but they made a few signings as well.
Yeah, I mean, did Brennan Johnson go to Tottenham in the end?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll miss him, but hey, fair dues to them. I mean, I think they'll get enough points and they'll be safe. But I mean, Chelsea, that spending that amount of money and got 4 points, is it?
Well, something like that. I know they're in the bottom half. I'll have a little look. Chelsea had 12 on 4 points. 4 points from 4.
Yeah, that's just not good enough, is it?
No.
I mean,
a really, really disappointing start for Chelsea. Will Poch still be there in October? Well, we will wait to see.
There's a long way to go yet. There is a long way to go yet, and they could improve. But I mean, you've got that amount of high quality players in your team. You should be picking up more points than that, and you shouldn't be losing the Forest at home.
No, Chelsea's reputation with managers. Well, you never know what they're going to do. So, it's a really, really poor couple of weeks now for Chelsea fans as they got to wait to play again. But really poor from them. I think many people have said, well, they spent so much money on all these different players. Why didn't they go and, they spent £1 billion at the top early. Why didn't they go and pay £100 million for one of the best strikers in the world? It absolutely baffles me why they didn't do that. And they find themselves in the same conundrum that they did last year. So, oh well, right. Let's move on to 2 games where 2 sides hit 5, and we'll start at the Etihad. Manchester City 5, Fulham 1. I should have triple captain Haaland this week, not last week. Josh.
Yeah, I had Haaland as my captain, not triple captain, but I did have my captain 40 points. I think he only ended up on about 65. So yeah, just absolutely carried me this week. But no, first I want to talk about was that Man City goal, the Ake one. No. Akanji clearly in offside position, just stupid really. But I suppose wouldn't really matter in the end if it was 5-1. But I think that it would have been 1-1 at half time if that didn't stand. So maybe it would have been a different game. But no, I think last week I said João Palhinha, he'd be a really difficult one to hold on to for Fulham. Well, it looked like he was going to go the other day to Bayern Munich, but luckily for them, he just about managed to keep him. But I don't think he played in the Man City game, and I think he could have been a big loss. As I said last week, just look a completely different team without him. Haaland, all 3 really well taken goals as you expect. And what else is to say about City? Really, I think Haaland got the assist for the first goal as well, setting up Alvarez. And a really good work from Sergio Gomez for the 5th goal off the bench to give it to Haaland for his final goal. And yeah, it's 4 out of 4 for City. They're usually slow starters and they choose the second half of the season where they absolutely go on like a 15-game winning run or something like that. But no, fair play to them. Without the manager on the touchline as well, they've won the first 4. So yeah, very good start for them. Fulham, I definitely think if they Palhinha stayed now, so I think they definitely have enough to avoid the drop, but I don't think they'll do as well as last season.
In a couple of recent seasons, the time to play Man City has been not in the first game, but early on in the season. Because I think Palace were out there a couple of years ago and beat them at the Etihad. And as you said, Josh, when they need to, they'll go on a 15-game unbeaten run. But the time to play them and try and catch them is probably a little bit more earlier on in the season. And maybe this game had that over it. Quite clearly not. 5-1 convincing win from Man City. Doesn't surprise me, and nobody's going to get near them again this year, whether you like it or not. let's move on to Turf Moor. Burnley 2, Spurs 5. And I don't think Burnley have registered a point yet, Mike.
No, they look like they're going to be one of the struggling sides, to be totally honest. I've watched a couple of their games now, and I mean, a lot of people were moaning about us losing Cullen, but he won't get anywhere near our team now. I liked him. He was a good, honest player, and he fitted in the Burnley side, and he's a nice, tidy little footballer in the middle of the park. But no, they just haven't got enough quality. Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United are probably three of the worst teams to come up. I don't think any of the teams that come up got relegated last year, did they? No, I don't think they did. But this year, I could honestly see all three. Take nothing away from Tottenham. I think they'll do well this year. I really do. Without European football, they got knocked out of the League Cup straight away. So all they've got to go for really is, try and get in the top four. And I'd give them a really good chance of doing it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I do. They've lost Kane, but Angie's come in and he's changed the way they're playing, and Tottenham fans must be loving it, from what they've been used to with Conte and Mourinho playing a dour football. But now, honestly, I think they'll have a good season. Son needed to fire because he hasn't been firing, and then he got a hat-trick. So, honestly, I think they're going to go on and keep themselves up there in that top four all season. There's other teams that they're not looking anywhere near as good as them, and Man United are one of them for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. I think all the factors that you mentioned play into Spurs' hands, and in recent years they haven't gone the distance in the FA Cup either. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do exactly what they did in the Carabao Cup, got knocked out of the FA Cup, and they've got no games by the Premier League. And if they keep playing, then they aren't going to win every game playing like that. A few teams might rip them open, but the way they're playing currently, the football's good. They're winning games. They're scoring a lot of goals. If they signed a proper striker on deadline day, I think I think a few Spurs fans would be a lot happier than they currently are, because I don't think Brennan Johnson's the answer to their striker woes. But if you've got Son scoring a hat trick, then it doesn't particularly matter. You all know my thoughts on Richarlison. I don't think he's good enough to be in that position. No way on this earth. So. I think if they'd have signed a proper striker instead of Brennan Johnson, I think they'd have been, I think they'd be in a more fortunate position, because Son ain't going to score a hat trick every week. So yeah, either Richarlison's got to start scoring some goals, or let's hope for their sake that Brennan Johnson can score some goals. But yeah. That is an issue for Spurs to worry about. Let's take some comments and see what you guys are saying. Burnley tried to play football, like I said last week. All four sides faced this season have almost accepted they would get outplayed just after half time. New signings, all quality. The star was great too. So Sean's happy. There we go. Sean is happy. Just going back to the City game, Man City were in second gear. They were, and they seem to just sort of go through them very easily, which may be a cause of concern for the rest of the league. Let's go into West London once again to the G-Tech Community Stadium. Brentford 2, Bournemouth 2. Bournemouth looked like they had the 3 points in the bag, but denied by a Brentford last gasp equaliser. Josh.
Yeah, strange one really. You look at it at the start and you think Brentford had blown them away with they've had quite a decent start to the season, but no fair play to Bournemouth. Obviously Brentford went 1-0 up, then a well taken goal by Dominic Solanke and David Brooks as well, with a really composed finish, and then late on Brian Mbeumo makes it 2-2. But yeah, I think we can slowly see that Brentford are starting to struggle now without Tony. Obviously Mbeumo and Visser chipping in, but Visser missed a good chance the other day as well. So you can slowly see now just missing that striker. Look, apparently they were chasing a winger all summer as well, and they couldn't get one. It's starting to fall and miss Tony a bit more now. As for Bournemouth, they've had quite a decent start. I had them to go down with Sheffield United and Luton, but no, they're doing quite well. David Brooks has come back from, I think he had cancer, but he's come back and he's looked really sharp. So fair play to him. Dominic Solanke as well. He's always just been a bit of a laughing stock, but he's chipped in with a few as well. So yeah, they've got a good manager. I think he got a few promotions with some Spanish teams or something like that. It was a big risk, obviously, sacking Gary O'Neill, who somehow kept that squad up last season, to bring in this manager. But it looks like the gamble could be paying off if they keep getting results like this. And I hope it does for them, because, you know, it is nice for just a little club like that to be in a Premier League sometimes. But yeah, probably not great result for Brentford, but good result for Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think you know, I watched some highlights of the game, and I think Brentford hit the woodwork on several occasions. So you know, a point may be a fair result and a fair reflection of Bournemouth might have been happy to get out with a point. Of course, frustrated, and yeah, Bournemouth, are an interesting side under this Iraola. They haven't quite got the results on the board yet, but yeah, I think they're nearing a crossroads where it could either go very badly or they could excel. We will have to wait and see in that sense. They will be gutted, but they would love the point against Brentford. Exactly, we would. I'd take a point, go to Brentford every day of the week. Yeah, I think it was at least three times at the post. So maybe Bournemouth a little bit fortunate in the grand scheme of things, but that's football at the end of the day. Next up, another B. It's Brighton. They swept past Newcastle. Well, I mean, beating Brighton ain't for everyone, Mike, is it?
No, you've got to be a better side than Newcastle to go there and beat them 3-1. No, exactly. Joking aside, Newcastle, you know, has got to be a little bit of a worry. I know they've had some tough fixtures, let's be fair. But, yeah, I mean, that's 3 games now they've lost. And if they're looking to get into that top 4, I mean, you know, they've got to string a hell of a run together now, haven't they? Brighton, yeah, I think they're going to be a bit more up and down this year. They've got the European football as well. So I still, for us, that was a great 3 points going out and beating them. But they bounced back well, to be fair to them. And that's a great result against Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle only scored near the end. I think our friend Mr. Wilson scored it near the end there. Honestly, Brighton on their day could win 3 or 4-0. And on another day, they can lose 3 or 4-0 like they did against Everton. And I think that's the sort of season they're going to have this year. They're going to be a bit up and down, and you just want to hope you catch them on a bad day. I'm not saying we did that when we caught them on a bad day. We set our game plan out and it worked, you know. I know a lot of teams are going to go there and try and do a similar sort of thing, you know, attack them in vulnerable areas, which they've got. But fair dues to them. They keep on the front foot, playing decent football and scoring lots of goals. So, from what I've seen of this, they thoroughly deserve this result.
Yeah, no, for sure. Josh, I think this almost feeds into Villa as well. With Brighton, with Newcastle, with Villa, it could be a very up and down season for all of those sides with Europe involved. But Brighton, you know, I think that's some sort of football. They were awful last week. You know, as Sean said it in the chat, everyone said they had no plan B. We set out our game plan and we executed it to perfection, and there was no response from De Zerbi or Brighton. This week, they swept aside a very good Newcastle side with, you know, Eddie Howe now scratching his head, and I think this could happen to all 3 of the sides that aren't part of the Big Six, that you know aren't that have qualified for Europe this year. And also lead that, Josh, onto your game. Liverpool 3, Aston Villa 0. Fire away, Josh.
Yeah, well, I just don't know what to say here. I just didn't expect it. Completely out the blue. We all thought Newcastle was just a blip after bouncing back with 4 wins in the space of a couple of weeks, but no, brought us all right back down to earth again. It's just this high line. It's just, I don't think it's working with Atar and Mings. None of them are anywhere near as quick as him. People don't realise how quick. And it's just his leadership as well, his organisation. As soon as we go 1-0 down early in the game, there's no one just to lift the team and just get him, you know, back in the game. Really, it's just how slow he looks. It's just ridiculous. Like, we played a high line, then we just wouldn't press. So we just let Liverpool have the ball with the centre backs, wouldn't press them, and they play that same long ball over the top every time, catching out our high defensive line, except the midfield and the forwards wouldn't press either. So I just didn't really understand the plan today. for one of the first times under Emery, to be fair. But no, it's unbelievable how slow this Pau Torres is. I thought on the ball last few weeks he looked very comfortable. Why we bought him. He's meant to be a good ball playing centre back, and last few weeks he has been. But today, even his passing was just really poor. He kept giving the ball away. Boubacar Kamara again had another really poor game. When I thought he's world class player usually, I thought, as I've said a few times, I think he'd walk in any other Premier League team except Man City's. Again, really poor, kept giving it away. Wouldn't win the ball as much as he usually does. I say the only bright sparks were Moussa Diaby and Zaniolo, who come off the bench. New signing from Galatasaray, looked like he's trying to make things happen. Diaby as well, a bit of pacing behind. Tries his hardest, and that's all I can say really. Everyone else was appalling. Ollie Watkins, his first touch is still absolutely dreadful. You think he wasn't playing today, apart from a few awful first touches. He hardly had a kick. John McGinn as well couldn't get in the game today. Leon Bailey got subbed on and subbed off, which just, yeah, that sums it up about him really. It sounds harsh, but it is literally like having a man down when he plays. He's just so poor, especially away from home. Matty Cash obviously got two goals last week. On the right wing, he was back to right back today, and defensively also looked really poor. Diego Carlos has come back from injury. He went off injured again. 20 minutes in, Emery said it's not a bad injury, so hopefully he'll be back after the international break. But now Hezri Konsa as well, who I thought was unlucky to miss out in the England squad. He's never been in before, and when you've got people like Maguire still getting in, I thought he was unlucky to miss out, but I thought he was quite poor as well. It's just poor performance all round really, and when we did have the chances through McGinn, Duran, Watkins, we didn't take them. And when you do get chances against teams like that, you've got to be clinical. And we just weren't. I don't think Liverpool were brilliant. They never really had to get out of second gear. We never pressed them. Though it's just poor performance all round, really. I suppose 6 points from the first 4 isn't too bad, but if we keep getting battered and whenever we play someone decent like this, I think he's going to have to rethink playing that high defensive line.
A frustrating afternoon for Unai Emery's men on Merseyside, that is for sure. Let's move down to the televised early game today, and it was at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 3, Wolves 2. A funny old game this, Mike.
Yeah, I didn't see much of this match. I was out, but I saw some of the highlights, and you wouldn't have expected Wolves to be involved in a 3-2 thriller, would you? But
no. I
know the last goal was scored near the end, wasn't it? Because Palace went 3-1 up, but yeah, you wouldn't expect it. I would have had this game down as a 1-0 or a 0-0 or something like that.
Yeah,
not a 3-2. But I mean, Wolves, I feel for them a bit. They've lost a lot of good players. They don't seem to be getting a lot of quality in the replacing it. They gave Man United a right go, and I thought we were unlucky not to get at least a point that day. They've got bright sparks in their team, but I don't know whether they got enough quality. I think they're going to struggle a bit. I think, whether they can do something in January or not. I don't know what the FFP situation is with Wolves, but I think they look a bit short, to be totally honest. Palace, take nothing away from Palace. That's always a difficult game at Selhurst Park. The crowd will be buzzing. That it's that nice little small tight ground with the fans. They're get behind their team. So it's not an easy game. Probably one that Wolves didn't need before the international break, to be totally honest. But hey, Palace, I think, will always be about a mid-table team. Yeah. I don't see them doing much more than that. They've got some good players. That Eze as a wonder someone had, gone in and picked him up. But I don't see them being much more than mid-table, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wolves could struggle around the bottom and just above, I reckon.
Palace have got that cap on them, especially with Roy Hodgson still in charge, in my opinion. And Wolves, they might be in for a long old season, that is for sure. And the 4:30 game where, to be honest, I couldn't believe I was wanting Manchester United to win. To be honest with you, at 1-1. I was just looking at something on my phone and I saw it went 2-1. And I glanced up and I saw who scored, and nearly chucked my phone at the telly. Josh, take it over. Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1.
Yeah, I was the other way round, to be honest. United, I was made up when Rice scored that late one, but no, I think they deserved it as well. Arsenal, they dominated the game. Obviously, Rashford with a very good goal, far corner in the first half, and then literally straight from kick-off. Arsenal with a very good move, and Martin Odegaard finishes it. I'd love to see how long that lead lasted, how many seconds, but I don't think it's more than a minute.
5 seconds.
Yeah, and then in the second half, it looked like that goal was never going to come. Then obviously United went down, Garnacho broke through at the very end, and before he won it for them, and I was made up when that was offside, because it's about time their decision go against him. And then Declan Rice totally unmarked at the back post, brings it down his chest. And it's poor goalkeeping, I think, from Onana. Probably should be saving it, but I'm sure Arsenal won't care. And then they get very last minute stoppage time. Tommy Asu off the bench plays a good ball through to Jesus, and the composure to just sit there. Who was it, Maguire or Evans down, or might have even been Below, to sit the defender down and just slot it into the bottom corner. Just world class finish. Don't know how he doesn't get in over Nketiah, to be honest. United are struggling. Obviously, they were lucky to beat Wolves, and probably Forest. If they didn't go down to 10 men last week as well, they probably wouldn't have beat them either. So they had quite a poor start, United, and I'm sure if it carries on, I'm sure it won't be long before the 10 are out, because they hardly had any ball today. They must have had about 30-40% possession. Arsenal just dominated it. I don't think Arsenal were great, but United certainly weren't. They never had too many clear-cut chances apart from the goal. They did break away a few times with Marcus Rashford. There's one in the second half where he probably should have passed, but took too long to get a shot off straight down the throat of Ramsdale in the end. But no, I was very happy, to be honest, in the end when they lost. But Bukayo Saka with an assist in my fantasy team as well, so that was good. He's the only one who really got points this week, apart from Haaland. But no, Arsenal, good result for Arsenal in the end, and I'm very glad to see United get beat.
Don't even mention fantasy points to Sean, because he's unhappy again this week because Maddison only got him 7 points despite being the best player on the pitch. Don't worry about it, Sean. Don't worry about it. There we go. That concludes another week of Premier League football. Well, we are done now until the 16th of September. Who on earth decided to put an international break, 4 games into the Premier League season? Who sorts this crap out? Honestly, I can't believe it. But we can't complain, Mike. We're in the top 4. We're on the road to the Champions League on 2 fronts, in the league and in the Europa League. So it's all good in that sense. Thank you very much indeed, Josh and Mike, for joining me. Mike, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, it's such a shame for us that we won a game and we dropped down 2 or 3 places in the league.
I know.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Good job we didn't lose, mate, wasn't it, at the end of the day? There were some results which I thought would go that way. Most of them went the way I thought this weekend, to be totally honest. So no major shocks, really.
Yeah. Well, I had 3-2 done as a prediction for this Arsenal game. So I was hoping the ref would drag out a bit more and they'd let them score, but unfortunately not. And it remained 3-1. So a huge 41 goals scored this weekend. So no fault in that sense. And we've left the Premier League with a bang, and hopefully, fingers crossed, no players get injured on the international break, and we can come back. It's the title decider against Man City to start, isn't it? Until then, thank you very much, Josh. Thank you very much, Mike.
No problem, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you after the international break. Until then, from us, come on, you irons. Up the Villa from Josh. Go on, give us an Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
There we go. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you, guys.